The United States makes the UN work when it wants it to work. And that is exactly the way it should be, because the only question to the United States is what's in our national interest.
My name is John, and the International Criminal Court is now in session. It is April 15th, 2024, and the last time I made a video, it was covering the terror attack in Krasnogorsk, Moscow Oblast, which is one of the big suburbs of Moscow itself, which is the capital of Russia. Now, obviously, Crocus City Hall, which was attacked by Islamic fundamentalists, is now closed, and apparently there are plans to demolish the music hall after the attacks. And also since then, we have gotten more info out of the guys who actually perpetrated this attack. And they said themselves, even though a lot of people are claiming that they were tortured into saying it, that they were in fact going to Kiev, Ukraine. And as a result, Russia has accused the Ukrainian state of being partly responsible for the terror attacks in Moscow. Now, time has passed. The attacks were horrible, but like everything in life, everybody moves on. Everybody by now has grieved. The guys responsible were caught, though investigations are still ongoing. I mean, a lot of things have happened since I made my last update video in Ukraine. Lines have been moving slowly, but because of some recent events, I decided that the time was now right to basically get back to this topic. So, without further ado, let's get to the front. Anyway, let's first talk about the situation in Kherson. Now, again, nothing here, nothing going on, though. As you can see, there's a blue line here. I wonder what this could mean. Oh, a defense line. Interesting. I wonder if they're fearing a Russian offensive, maybe, which is impossible. There's no way. Also, Krynki is either contested or just now all rubble. We don't really hear anything going on from Krynki anymore. It's kind of strange. But, yeah, let's assume that this front is dead. And, yeah, that's the end of it. The mission in Krynki has failed. Sorry. Now, getting to Zaporizhzhia Oblast, the Russians have been making a lot of progress in retaking the areas they lost during the summer 2023 counteroffensive by the armed forces of Ukraine. And as a result, the Russians are now basically, literally, they have retaken basically everything most of what they had lost on that first defense line. The Ukrainians are now getting slowly backed up away from the Surovikin line. Backed up. And things are getting so bad that the Russians are back in Rybotine. And also, there is now fear from the pro-Ukrainian side that Rybotine is about to be encircled. Not a good sign. But yeah, other than that, it's mostly a dead front. Though I did hear that something is developing not far from Huleopol, which, by the way, is a strategic town within Zaporizhzhia Oblast. It's like a crossroad that goes, for one, north to Dnipropetrovsk and westward towards Orikhiv. It doesn't go to Zaporizhzhia, city itself, but it does go to Dnipropetrovsk. There is a bit of, limited development in the Velika Novosilka direction. Russians have been retaking a little bit of ground here and there, but nothing too special yet. And then we go to Uglidar. Now, here's the thing. The Battle of Uglidar has been virtually going on since January 2023. If you're talking about, a theater of the whole war, it's been going on for quite some time now. And while the Russians are nowhere close to entering Uglidar itself yet, They are on the verge of taking a key settlement, which would get them on the road with Uglidar, and that is Nova Mihajlivka. Now, around like 70 or 80% of the town is under the Russian control, and I won't be shocked if by late April it completely falls. Ukrainians are already rumored to be evacuating Nova Mihajlivka and going to Konstantinivka and Pereskovkivka. So yeah. But yeah, Russians are advancing in this direction here, and it won't shock me if they're on the road to Uglidar within a month or so from now. And as you can see, taking Mariinka is looking more and more strategic every day. Georgiivka has not really changed that much, though it is still tightly contested. And now here's a new battle. A new challenger has appeared. Krasnogorivka, or Krasnohorivka, which is what they call it in Ukrainian. It is now contested. The Russians were in this neighborhood for a while, then they got repelled, and then they tried again when they crossed the train track, and this time they have been successful. So now they have a stronghold in the Dakas, and I've already heard from some sources, though it's a rumor, not yet confirmed, that Russians are already trying to retake this area here. So don't be surprised if the Russians penetrate Krasnogorivka even more, and a lot of FAB 500s are falling on the town itself. Now, the reason why Krasnogorivka is so important is because I think it's the overall, like, last major settlement that gives Ukrainians, like, good firing range over Donetsk city. And a lot of Russians are complaining about Donetsk city getting bombed every night by the armed forces of Ukraine. So, yeah, they want to take Krasnogorivka if they want to further secure Donetsk city. Though, I feel like it's more because they want to secure the supply routes, which is very obvious that they're trying to do that. And by getting Krasnogorivka, the Russians will push them back further and further away from not just Donetsk city, but also the suburbs too, including Mariinka, which is one of the key suburbs of Donetsk besides Avdiivka, which had fallen 2 months ago now in February. And moving further up north, we have Pervomayskoye has just fallen to Russia a week or so ago. This is a huge capture. And if anything, this is mainly thanks to Pisky being used as a springboard for just that. So with Pervomayskoye falling, the Russians are most likely now going to move into Nataliove. And then they could enter Karlivka. Now, what's so important about all this? Well, here's the thing. If they take Nataliove, or let me try to repronounce it. My bad. Nataliove, then they will have to move southwards. Like there's a lot of empty field here, and they will try to besiege Krasnogorivka. And from Karlivka, then they can try to go down this very awkward-looking part. Ukrainsk is here. This is a big commie block town. Then there's Hurink, and then Karakivka. I mean, there's some major settlements here that the Russians are looking at. And I feel like this is part of their plan to take Kurakhove. And I feel like in the long term, they want the garrison in Pervomayskoye to eventually meet up with the garrison from Mariinka. I feel like that's the overall plan there. But yeah. So yeah, Russians, I heard, are already in this settlement here. And it won't shock me if they start advancing further southward. And also thanks to the fact that they captured Nevelskoye, it won't shock me at all that they're eventually going to advance on Krasnogorivka, like completely besiege it. And now to go further up north, as you all know, Pervomayskoye is not just part of the Donetsk front, it's also part of the greater Avdiivka front. Now, ever since Avdiivka had fallen, the Russians basically steamrolled a good chunk of the settlements that were just outside of Avdiivka. And Avdiivka's capture is proving to be more crucial by the day. The Russians have literally captured a shit ton of towns and villages since Avdiivka had fallen. And this was, again, as I said, the last major suburb of Donetsk Oblast that had fallen to the Russian army. Orlivka had fallen since, completely fallen, for real this time. Simonivka, I heard, is rumored to have fallen too, so the Russians will have a lot of empty room to work with. And also the Russians are about to enter the small village of Umenske and Yasnor-Bardivka. Again, as I said, the Russians are looking to have their forces meet up in certain parts of the front, so then they could make this giant sort of frontier. They want to get to Kharkove, which would help with the battle in Ugledar, but it also would help them out maybe in going for Velika Novosilka too. And also, here's the thing, and this is the most important thing I want people to know. The reason why you all should be watching the Avdiivka front is because this front is the starting point for an assault on Pokrovsk, which is all the way up here. Now, it may look far right now, but let me tell you all this, okay? There's a reason why this town is important, and I've told a lot of people on Discord this. If Pokrovsk were to fall to Russian control, the Russians will have effectively a gateway to Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. And also, Saladove, which is right here, is another key logistical hub for the armed forces of Ukraine. So they need to take it too if they want to get to Pokrovsk. So what I'm expecting to happen is the Russians are going to advance. They're going to try to advance as far as possible to get to Pokrovsk, though I am expecting Saladove to have a battle first before Pokrovsk happens. But I'm sure, I literally won't be shocked if that's what ends up happening. And I'm also hearing Russians are nearing another key high ground point in Orchardine. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce it correctly. But yeah, this area here is a high ground. And if they were to take it, it gives them more and more breathing room to work with. And it gets them, as I said, closer to Pokrovsk. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they start to get within firing range of more towns, which should make their advance easier. So this town, Orichine, could be a speed bump for the Russians. It's slowing them down, but if they were to take it, oh no. But we'll just have to wait and see. It's likely they'll continue doing the same old slow meat grinder until they reach Pokrovsk, but again, we shall wait and see. Now, in Chasiv Yar, the Russians, oh my god, they're already, so here's the thing, people. The Battle of Chasiv Yar officially started on April the 4th, 2024. The Russians are in the town itself right now. They're in the very first neighborhood of Chasiv Yar. Now, what I'm expecting to happen in the very first phase of the battle is this block of commie blocks here, this neighborhood of commie blocks here is going to easily fall to Russia. Okay? It's already getting bombed to smithereens at the moment, so I'm not going to be shocked if it falls that easily. And the Ukrainians will just cross the canal into the main part of Chasiv Yar itself. So I'm not going to be surprised if this falls first. And then the next thing that's going to happen is, of course, the battle for Kalania. And then Russians will cross the canal from there, and then they're going to battle it out in the main town of Chasiv Yar. And this is the highest point in the entire Donbas that isn't Donetsk City. Okay? Now, personally for me, I think this battle is going to last for 4 to 5 damn months. It's going to go all the way potentially to the end of summer, so don't be surprised if it lasts that long. It's literally the next big battle of the Donbas, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, it looks like the summer offensive that's being pushed around by Budinov and Zelensky, they all believe that the big Russian offensive is going to be in summer 2024, which should be around May, June, July this year. But there's no evidence to really back that up yet, though I've heard of a new group that just popped up. They're called the North Group, which is part of the Russian army. So, yeah, it's possible, but we'll get to that a little later before we end the video. But yeah. So yeah, Russians are in Chasiv Yar and battles are ongoing. Now, I've also heard that Russians are on the offensive in Siversk too, in the Siversk sector. And I heard they already took in like a key fortification in this area. So, yeah, don't be surprised if the Russians try to push for Siversk at some point. And yeah, they got to take that if they want to get back to Liman and also maybe to try to take another shot at Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. I mean, there's a lot of things they got to do if they want to take this entire strip, this huge metropolitan area within the Donbas. There's just so much criteria that they got to fulfill, including, of course, taking Kupiansk, which they haven't been able to do. And now Russians got close to Terny, but it clearly not good enough. Russians reportedly got pushed back. No progress going on in the Orskar River area, Kupiansk, which is Kharkov Oblast. But yeah, that's going to pretty much do it. Now, as for the summer offensive, right, this is the last thing we'll talk about in the video, okay? Now, as I said just a moment ago, Zelensky and Budanov, who is one of the key figures in the entire Ukrainian government, well, Zelensky's the actual president, by the way, / dictator, because now, as all of you know by now, Ukrainian elections did not happen. They were canceled this year due to the war / special military operation by Russia. And as a result, he's now effectively a dictator. Democracy, am I right? But yeah, anyway, but getting back on topic, jokes aside. So, the Ukrainians, again, are claiming that a big Russian offensive is coming. And based on what we're hearing about, there seems to be somewhat of a buildup in Belgorod, which borders both Kharkiv and Sumy Oblast. Now, if you ask me about this, folks, there's still not enough evidence to back the claim that a big Russian Big Arrow, super duper wow offensive is coming anytime soon. There's no evidence of that. As I said, it is more likely we're going to see Russians try to push towards more Morprovotsk, Velikanovosilka, and Ugledar. That is more likely going to happen this summer. And maybe also left bank Orskar River, maybe to take that. But if the Russians do launch an offensive in Kharkiv and Sumy, then it would be an indicator that the Russians want to take left bank Ukraine as soon as possible. But time, though, is running out for the Russians because U.S. is about to send its next aid package over to the Ukrainians. Though, for me personally, I think it's way too little too late because by now, as all of you have heard by now, it's been a while, the Russians have destroyed pretty much most, if not all, of the major energy infrastructure within Ukraine. I mean, literally, Kharkiv is literally uninhabitable at this point. You can't live there anymore. There's no electricity, no heat, no air conditioning, no internet, nothing. Everybody is leaving Kharkiv. Or Kharkov, which is what the Russians call it. But yeah, I believe that's why a lot of people think the Russian offensive is coming, and it wouldn't shock me if it does, but I don't know. Time will have to tell if this is the case or not, because there's not enough evidence to really support these claims, but if it does turn out that the Russians are, in fact, launching an offensive on Kharkiv, I don't think they're going to do it on the city itself, because the city is really huge. It would be like another Battle of Aleppo, if you ask me. It's going to last for a very long-ass time. Maybe longer than Mariupol, if anything. But yeah. And one more thing, too. Ukraine's General Syrskyi claimed that the Russians want to take Chasiv Yar by May 9th, 2024. Now, here's the thing, people. Let's be realistic. That is absolute, complete nonsense. Russians are not taking anything by May 9th. And Syrskyi is just lying his ass off to make it look like they're going to have a victory when that day comes and passes. I mean, let's be real here. What's more likely going to happen in May 2024 is much of the same, and maybe a military parade in Red Square. That's it. That's pretty much it. So yeah. So I hope you guys were informed by what I told you in this video. And please, subscribe to The Hague if you want. Leave a comment below what you think of the recent updates. And I'll see you all next time. Take care, and peace out.